Hey, it's Steve. Today we're going to unbox, set up, and take a look at the Ender 3 3D printer. Let's go. Okay, first off, let's go ahead and unbox the printer. Try to get all the parts out here. Power supply. Let's see, layer 3 manual. Some rails. Lots of bags of parts and some filament. You can see there's quite a few separate bags and pouches with various small parts, so a lot of things to open up and kind of sort out, but for the most part everything was really well packaged and nothing at all that I saw was damaged, so a really good packing and shipping job here with this printer. Here's a look at the instruction sheet. And I do also give you all the tools you need to assemble a printer, so you don't need to go out and buy anything if you don't have it. Now the assembly was pretty straightforward. It took me about 90 minutes total from start to finish to get everything assembled. There's a lot of screws. I don't remember how many there are, but you know, it's at least 2 dozen probably more than that, and lots of various small parts to put together. So certainly this is one of those things where if you've done it before, you could probably easily do it in half the time, but not having done it and trying to figure out, you know, which way certain parts went on, you know, based on the diagrams, you know, it took a little bit of time. But again, about 90 minutes, I didn't really run into any problems. I did put on the spool holder for the filament on the wrong side at first and had to move it, but otherwise no big deal there. And everything for the most part assembled pretty easily based on the directions. Okay, so now let's take a look at the printer specifications. It does use a typical wide variety of filament types, and it does have a very nice large build volume, around 9 by 9 by 10 inches. So certainly you can do some pretty large objects with that size. The layer thickness is kind of typical, as is the nozzle diameter. It does have a fairly fast maximum speed. I haven't tried it that fast. In fact, I haven't gone beyond 50 millimeters per second, so I don't know how the quality will be impacted when you get that high. On the speed, obviously, kind of depends probably what you're printing. If it's very linear, you know, kind of objects, then, you know, a faster speed is probably going to be fine. And then if you have a lot of intricate, you know, detail, then, you know, you're probably going to be better off keeping the speed lower. The bed temperature and nozzle temperature can get very high, so 255 on the nozzle and 110 on the bed, so you can get some pretty high temperatures for certain types of filaments for that. And it does have the ability to resume printing after a power outage, though I have not actually tried that. I have done the pause print in terms of actually manually pausing it with the control panel and then resuming it, and that's been fine, but I have not turned the power off and turned it back on to see if it would keep working fine. The price is pretty affordable at $170 again. That is because you do have to assemble it yourself, but again, the assembly is not that hard. It just takes about an hour to an hour and a half, so certainly if you're willing to spend that time doing it, definitely a good value at the $170 or even less than that if you get it on sale. And now we're just going to go ahead and do one of the default prints that comes with the card. We'll do the dog and see what happens here. And I have leveled the bed. Basically the process there is you want to take a sheet of paper on each of the corners with the print head touching the print bed. You can adjust the height with these wheels here. You want to be able to put a piece of paper between the print bed and the print head with just a little bit of resistance at all 4 corners of the bed, and that will give you the right distance there. So it takes a little bit of fiddling to get it to where it's not, you know, too high in one spot or too low in another spot. But once you get it set up, probably you want to change it a whole lot, but definitely something to make sure is done first before you go ahead and print anything. And now everything is heating up here. The nozzle is at 200 degrees, which is the right temperature for the PLA sample that I'm using right now. And then the print bed is supposed to be up to around 50, I think, or 45, 50, somewhere in there to print. And Looks like it's steady there, so I think it's going to start here momentarily. We'll come back later and see what everything looks like once we've made some progress here. I initially put some masking tape on the bed since I've heard that that can be a good way to help things stick, but that wasn't actually needed and I haven't used it since. Eventually this first print failed since it shifted off the masking tape a little bit, and so the printer wasn't printing exactly where it should have been printing because the print had shifted, and so I had to basically stop it. So then I went ahead and made this little piggy bank out of the black filament I had since I didn't have any more of the white sample filament, and that came out really nice. You can kind of see here the overall level of print quality, so no problems at all. That one printed fine directly on the bed and no issues at all. And so my first useful 3D print here was this little holder for the remote control that I have for the lights above my HO scale switching layout. And so that's one of the cool things about having a 3D printer. If you need a part, you can just go ahead and make it yourself. So here's another one of my first prints, a little tool holder for the 3D printer. So there's spaces there for the spatula, the thumb drive, for transferring files over, all the Allen wrenches, screwdrivers, wrenches, as well as a needle for cleaning the nozzle of the print head, and a little holder for the snippers. So here's a look at another print that's going on. I decided to print a model of Starship SN8 from SpaceX. I thought that'd be a fun thing to print. So you can watch this here while I kind of give the overall summary here. Overall, I really do like the printer a lot. The assembly was pretty straightforward. I haven't had any meaningful issues with it at all so far. This is a relatively low-cost 3D printer. I think it was only around $170, maybe even less than that if it's on sale. And so definitely a pretty easy way to get going here in 3D printing. Obviously, if you get a fully assembled printer, that's a little bit easier than this, but again, the assembly was pretty straightforward and it prints fine, and I haven't really had any issues. So overall, I am definitely very happy with this, and it's definitely a nice entry into the world of 3D printing. So anyway, if you are looking for a 3D printer, this might be one to check out. It's been a lot of fun to use so far. Again, no problems, fairly easy to put together, and definitely I think worth the money based on my experience so far. So anyway, that's a look at the Ender 3 3D printer. Hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching. Bye.